What's up guys, my name is Michael and I'm back from the Photokina. Oh my god, it was an amazing time. I met so many inspiring people, photographers, and I met a lot of fans actually. I was very surprised that so many people talked to me and said, "Hey, I know you, I know your channel, love what you're doing." Yeah, very nice experience. So I spend a lot of time there actually all day long every day, and I also had my talk about the road trip, about the US road trip that I made. Fuji had an awesome video wall which was like 300 inches, and probably if you follow me on Instagram, then you will have seen some images of that presentation. And one of these presentations has been recorded, and I guess I will receive that recording in the next few days. And the talk has been in German, so I will share that on my German channel. But I will also show you this presentation again in English. So I will recreate it and do a video about it. And yeah, hopefully somebody will take something out of this. I think it's going to be pretty interesting. For this video today, we're not going to talk about the Photokina all day long, but we're going to talk about the images that are made for the X-T3 launch. Now, this launch, you saw probably my video about the Parkour guy and me having that shoot, and these images are in my Capture One catalog, and I have processed the images in Capture One 11, and I had to work with the JPEGs because there was no RAW converter available for the X-T3 RAW files. Now today we can work with the RAW files. Capture One 11.3 gives you the ability to work with the RAW files from the Fuji X-T3, and that's what we're going to do. If you haven't noticed yet, Capture One came out with a express version. That express version for Fuji is free. I mean, you should really have a look at that because the raw conversion is so much better than in Lightroom, and we will go through that now. I won't show you a comparison to Lightroom because that's what we already did in my last video. We made a comparison there. Have a look at that if you haven't already. And I'm sure like so many people switch from Lightroom to Capture One these days. It's just amazing, and I get so much feedback about Capture One. If you like to use the full version, the Capture One Pro 11 version, or you would like to get the Capture One Pro for Fuji, I can give you a discount code, and the discount code is in the description. So you make sure you check out the link, have a look at the licenses and the restrictions that apply in the Express version, and once you decide to switch, use the promo code. It gives you 10% on the perpetual license and 5% on the subscription for the first year. So let's go into Capture One. This time I didn't forget to switch to English for you guys so you understand what I'm doing. And I'm gonna move that to the side here, the activity window, because it has to work for a little bit, about 5 minutes. And you can see that for this project I shot 8,793 images. Now, some of these clips are movie files. You can see the movie files here. And of course, I got some RAW and some JPEG versions as well. So some of them are RAWs, some of them are JPEGs. Now what I'm gonna do right now, we're not gonna go through all of them, but we're gonna set a filter so we can only see the ones that I have already marked. So this so there are 133 images remaining. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go through an image that I have already processed. Now this will be a JPEG, as I told you, and then we're going to reprocess a RAW file. And I'm going to show you how to work with the Fuji RAW files in Capture One after that. Now my editing process was a two-step process. First of all, let's open this image. That's one of my favorite shots from that session. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna duplicate that. I'm gonna explain you why I made a two process, why I had two processes. Now let's make a new variant from that. Now what you see here is the image straight out of camera. And we're gonna go to the image editing tab right here. You see everything is 0. There is no adjustments made to this image. Now let's zoom in to 100%, and you can see the image is pretty awesome already, straight out of camera. There is nothing that you would have to edit, but I would like to give the image some more punch. The image that you can see here is the final version that I made in Capture One. So once again, this is the before and this is the after. So let's go through all of my settings. As you can see, I corrected the exposure a little bit, added some contrast, and I worked with some presets. Some styles have been applied, and there are no layers. The white balance is like it was shot. I reduced the highlights a little bit. Now let's have a look at this. Is without reduced highlights, this is with reduced highlights, so there's not a big difference here, and that's pretty much it. So there is not a huge editing going on here. It's just applying a little more like the feeling that I want to give to the image. So that's all I did in here. So we're gonna now switch over to Photoshop, and I'm gonna show you that I then opened the image just exactly the way it was in Capture One, and then I made some cleanups. So the floor needs to be cleaned. See, there's a lot going on. Let me apply that layer so you see that everything has been cleaned. So this takes some time. I used the stamp and the healing brush for that. And I also cleaned up a little bit in this area as well. You can see the before and after. So it's just minor touches. It's not that I made huge changes to the image. Then I applied some curves just to give the image a little brighter, a little bit brighter look. I added even more contrast, and the way I like to do that is by adding a black and white layer in a certain blend mode. I don't know the English name for that blend mode, but you can see where it's located. And then I edited the colors a little bit. It's like you almost can't see anything. And then I gave it a little more punch in the colors. So I added some vibrance to the colors. And that's all I did. I mean, I could have retouched this concrete right here. I could have made this clean as well, but I like this kind of style. So just to give the image a little more structure and a little more mood. And that's all I did. So the images worked really nicely straight out of camera. So no need actually to do more than that, at least in my opinion. So let's go back to Capture One and have a look at a raw file. Let's go for this image. I like that one a lot. So that is a raw file. Let's create a new variant. The new variant creates a variant without any touches. So it's like straight raw conversion from from Capture One without any touches. And obviously, if we have a look at the histogram, and even without the histogram, you see that it is a little bit too dark. So we're going to use the exposure tool for that, brighten that. You can see that the histogram starts to move to the right. I'm going to enable the exposure warning, and you can see that we get a little overexposure in the shirt. So I'm going to use the high dynamic range tool, move it up here. If you don't see the high dynamic range tool, you can right click, add tool, and add high dynamic range right here. So with that, I could drop down the highlights, and you see that the overexposure warning is gone. And I'm gonna zoom in a little bit just to see what everything looks like. Let's go to 100%. Give the computer a little time to work on that. And you can see if I alt click on the reset button on the upper left, I can see the before and after. So I gain a lot of detail down here, and I don't lose the detail in the shirt. So if I want to see the image without the high dynamic range adjustment, you see that I started losing some detail in there. Alright, so that's pretty nice. Let's make that smaller. And what I like to do now is zoom in even more, because I have adjusted the resolution of my display so that I can fit more onto the small screen. It's a 13-inch MacBook Pro, so I have the adjusted resolution in here. So this is almost 4K, and that's why I need to zoom in to 300 or 400% to see if I got enough sharpening or too much sharpening. So we're gonna now go into the sharpening tab, and you see the default amount is 140, and in my taste that is okay, but not enough. So I will add more amount, and we're now at 400, and you can see that the sharpening now is it almost looks blurry the way it was, and now I can really see the detail in the hair way better. Now let's go ahead and play with that and go up even higher. You see the sharpness is better, but we now have too much noise. So we use the noise reduction, and again, if you don't see the noise reduction tool, right click, add tool, noise reduction. Alright, that's pretty simple. So I'm now gonna slide the luminance slider to the right, and you see the noise got way better, but obviously we have too much sharpening going on. So I'm gonna slide that back until I get a good compromise between sharpening and noise. So there is some need to play with that. It's not that you will nail that with your first try. I mean, you will get some experience with that pretty quickly, obviously, but I think it's fine. You should just play around, and it depends on the image. It's not always the same. So right now, let's go ahead and reset the sharpening again to see Oh yeah, we gained a lot of sharpening, and it's really important that you apply this sharpening to the raw file if possible. And if we would compare that to Lightroom, you would be totally blown away by how good the sharpening looks in Capture One and how bad it looks in Lightroom. I mean, you should really try that with your own files, but I'm not gonna go back to Lightroom anytime soon because I also don't like the subscription model. And I mean, look at the detail that we got in this image. I mean, it's an APS-C sensor, and so many people complain that Fuji has only APS-C. I need full frame, and full frame is way better. It's the best quality. I mean, yeah, it might be like 10% better, but Fuji does such an amazing job creating fine detail out of this APS-C sensor that to me there is no advantage in a full frame camera anymore. I mean, it used to be different. APS-C cameras have not always been as good as they are today, but to me, honestly, that's really great. And I mean, look at what we can get out here, what kind of details we have. I mean, it's 400% magnification, but you see everything you need to see. And I mean, you could make a large print without any problems. And let's make some perspective corrections. And you have the Keystone tool up here, and it's pretty easy. In this image, you would just align the tool with the lines that you have on the wall, and you would also do it over there. I think it's really important if you have a line like this one, which is close to the edge, it should be parallel with the border of the image. So I have now aligned these lines, and I'm just gonna hit apply. And once I do that, the image is straightened, and I can now hit my cursor tool again to see that it is now perfectly aligned and we don't have any distortion anymore. I mean, the image looked like this, it was too dark, and now it is like this. So the before image doesn't show the distortion, but that's not important. So what I would like to do now is I would like to play with the skin tones, because the skin tones are okay, but they're not the way I want them. Capture One has an amazing tool for skin tones. So we're gonna go in the color editor, and I can also, by the way, pull that out if I want to work with that over here. And I could also remove all the other tools with Command T. So hide and show the tools, just to have this one tool over here. So I'm now gonna hit the little symbol right here. It is also available up there. It's the Pick Basic Color Correction tool, but we're gonna go to skin tone, and then I'm gonna hit the skin somewhere. So I could now view my selection with the view selected range, but it doesn't show a big difference because the image is already black and white, mostly all over the place, so it's not showing a big difference. But I can now change the hue, saturation and lightness of the skin. Now look at that. I can change his skin color I can change the saturation of the skin. You see, not that I would do it like that, but just to show you how it works. And I can also change the brightness. Let's say it says lightness, but of course it's, I don't know why they say lightness. But once you get up with the saturation, you can see the hue much better. So let's zoom in a little bit more. Try to find a skin color that I really like. I mean, this is not a classical portrait shot. You would most of the time use that for portraits, but whenever skin is in your image, you can use that tool if you're not quite happy with the skin tone that your camera gave you. And I mean, this also depends on the person that you're shooting, of course, obviously. So let's see, skin before and skin now. Looks way better. We're gonna leave it just like that, but we're gonna put the saturation back down. It's not supposed to be as much as it was. Okay, so we're now gonna press Command T and move the color editor back in there. All right, pretty nice. So what I'm gonna do now is I wanna play with the styles and presets. Now I have all the presets that Capture One sells. Some of them are included with the basic version, and some of them can be purchased on their website. So let's go ahead and play with these. And I'm going to show you a trick, because you can apply these styles and presets to different parts of the image. So we're now gonna add a layer and call it Martin. So I'm gonna add use the brush the brush tool, which is also on the letter B, and I'm now gonna paint where I want the mask to be applied. And now I don't see anything because I have to press M. M is for mask. All right, so let's wait a little bit. As I told you, my computer is pretty busy screen recording and Capture One at the same time, but I must really say that Capture One is converting the RAW files, especially the Fuji RAW files, way quicker than Lightroom does. I mean, a lot of people talk about that, but I mean, it wasn't that important to me, but it's something to mention, I think. Yeah, so as you can see, this takes a little time, and especially since I do it on the trackpad. I don't like working with the trackpad at all, but yeah, it's just, there is no other way right now. So you see the selection is pretty ugly, it's pretty rough, but that's sufficient. Let me show you why once I'm ready. Okay, so the mask is finished, and right now I'm gonna right click on the layer and say refine mask. Now the refine mask will help you create a perfect mask without the need to draw the mask perfectly. So as you now can see, all I did is go in the refine mask tool, and it does such a great job. And now I'm gonna apply that. Press M because I don't want to see the mask. I know it's on that layer, and that's fine. And now I can right click and select apply settings from user styles, and now I can apply all the styles that I have, and they are applied only to this layer, and this layer has a mask, so the style is only applied to him, and that's really cool. So what I'm gonna do now is I first wanna go ahead and give the background a certain style, and I can do that straight from here. I don't have to go the way that I showed you before. No, it's not a built-in style. I want to go to the user styles, and I want to go maybe with the matte style for the background. I like this kind of blue tone in the background. I want to use blue for the wall, just a slight blue touch. And I mean, I could also do that with the wheels, but we're now going to do it with the yeah, with a style. Just trying to concentrate and at the same time talk, and it can be difficult. Okay, so I applied a style to the background and gonna minimize the styles, and I want to now go ahead and apply a different style to the front layer. I'm going to go into these. I think they could be pretty nice. Let's see. I mean, it takes a little time to display. This one will be too bright. I mean, it looks crazy, but it is not what I'm looking for. Maybe I want to use the darker ones. This one might be one of my favorites. Let's try the Angkor Wat. By the way, if you haven't been to Cambodia, or if you're gonna go to Cambodia, you should really go and see Angkor Wat. I took my X-T3 there, and oh my god, you can take so many amazing pictures in Cambodia. It's really worth going there. So as you can see, I'm just playing around. I mean, it's not that I have always a clear idea, but I mean, the idea is to have this little blue, a little blue touch in the background, and to have the more warmer tones in the front. And I like this kind of style here. Let's again see the before and after. I think it takes some more time. Yes, that's the way it has been, and that's the way it is now. Come on. Yes, there it is. Yeah, so I'm pretty fine with that look, but I think I will reduce the opacity of that layer to around 60%. Yeah, it looks pretty nice now. One more time, before and after. So as you can see, the things that really make this image amazing and interesting and nice to look at have been done with the camera. So the settings that I used here is 1/3200th of a second, f4 to get a little depth of field, but it's a wide angle lens. I use the 10-24 at 11.5 millimeters. So, and I mean, I could have made the image brighter in camera, that's no problem, but I'm always kind of careful not to overexpose, especially with a project like this. If I have to work with JPEGs, I cannot recover any blown out highlights, so I shoot a little darker and yeah, get to the point where I need to be in post-production. And if you shoot raw and you're able to process raw, obviously now finally we can do that, then you can shoot, you can even overexpose a little bit without any issues. So I think the raw conversion in Capture One 11 for the Fuji raw files, and in this case for the Fuji X-T3 raw files, works perfectly. It works really smooth, and yeah, I mean, the express version from Capture One is something that a lot of people have waited for, and I mean, I can now shoot directly into Capture One. I can attach the camera to my MacBook. I can live preview the image on my computer. I mean, I have the live screen on my computer. If I use the app on my phone, I can connect to that and I can use the phone for a as a shutter release. I can also see the images on my phone when I shot them. I could give an iPad to my client to review the images while I'm shooting. So there are great, yeah, these are great use cases, and it works really smooth. It works smoother than in Lightroom, so that's something that you should try as well, but it's not available in the Express version, so you would need to get a paid version for that. Let's have a look at some more images, and you can see that, I mean, we have had that before. let's go back into this one. You can see that, for example, this shot right here. I'm going to show you this one. The before and after. So I applied a look. I added some blue in the shadows overall. I added some sharpness. But overall the image is amazing because I made an amazing shot. And I mean, in this image I have then in the post-production I yeah, I made something in this area to have him look a little better. And by the way, this image was printed in for the Photokina as well. Or I'm not quite sure. Maybe it was one of these. This one. I think it was this one. And the final image, I added some more depth to it because, yeah, the building was pretty short and I wanted to have more repetitive shapes, and it was not possible, so I had to trick that in Photoshop afterwards. Let me see if I have the image open right now. Well, no, I don't have it open, but I can open the image for you. That's not a problem. Let's go ahead and open the image for you guys to see how that works. You can see all of these images are TIFFs. Just because I had to make sure to not lose any more quality, because I mean, I was forced to work in JPEG, so I didn't want to lose anything more than necessary in the process. So I mean, you should always work like that. If you process, even if you process a raw file and you're still not finished, you should always save in PSD or TIFF. I mean, if you stay in Capture One, obviously you don't have to save at all. I mean, then you would just open the image and, yeah, export it once you're ready. Okay, let me show you now. This is what I did to this image. So this is probably some of the most work that I put into these images, just because I wanted to have this, yeah, flying look right here. So I'm going to show you right now. I added a layer, so I just used my clone brush. Pretty easy, just cloning. Let me see what it looks like. It's just painting over there so that I can get that. Then I added something to the right side, it's just like a little scaling. Then I added some contrast. Actually, I don't know what that is. Oh, I think that's what I just showed you. This is just the face retouch, probably. Let's go here. Yeah, face retouching a little bit. And what comes now are just layers for contrast and stuff like that. So I added contrast. I mean, it also looks really nice with the low contrast right now, but I decided to add contrast, add even more contrast, add a little vignetting kind of thing. I think that was disabled, and I gave it some, yeah, something for the skin tone. So that's what I did here. Now, Capture One version and then Photoshop. So I put quite some work into this shot, but honestly, I mean, you can see the shot right here, and the difficulties here have been really during the shoot. Let me show you some images that I shot around this area. 1008. Gonna have to look for the image again. 1008. And I mean, it was a busy place. A lot of people were passing by, and actually that was the challenging part here. You know, you can now see that there were people walking around. You see here this cyclist greeting into the camera. So it was a quite busy place, and we were also we also had to hurry a little bit because I was pretty sure that a security guy would come anytime soon and yeah, try to get us out of this place. So with this video, I just wanted to show you the way that I processed the images for the Fuji project. I mean, there are no secrets. It's just really basic post-production involved. I think the most challenging part for me with this project was to find the locations, and I spent certainly around 5 to 8 days looking for the right spot to take these images. And we spent around 2 days shooting, filming, so it was quite a big production actually, and quite some effort. I mean, I could have also shot this in the studio, but it would have been boring, so I need some structure and some architecture or something. And yeah, that's the way I decided to go for that. Who knows what is coming up next? I'm pretty excited, and I don't know if there will be a Fuji project, an official Fuji project for me again, but I think the video got quite great, some great response, and the images got some great response as well. So hopefully I will be able to do something again next time. Yeah. Well, let me know if you would also be interested in a video in which I would show you how I made the video for the Fuji project. I mean, like all the filming and all of the gear that was involved, all of the editing, how I find my music, stuff like that. I think that could also be interesting, but I'm not quite sure if you're more a still photography related audience, or if you're more into video as well. Let me know what you think about that idea. And if you have any further questions about these images, the way I shot these images, or about the post-production, then drop me a comment. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up. And if you want to support my work, you can do that through Patreon. I made a site over there. I will link it in the description, and it would be really greatly appreciated if you go there and check that out. Yeah. Anyway, it was a pleasure. See you for the next video, guys. Bye.